When a man yells for his mother in duress and pain and she's dead, he is essentially yelling, please, God, don't let it happen to me. And we watch that.
Please, I can't breathe. Please, man. Please, man.
This vantage point shows that at one point, all 4 officers worked together. The attorney representing the Floyd family called for each to be charged. New documents show when paramedics started working on Floyd in the ambulance, he was already unresponsive and pulseless.
He was there for people when they were down. He loved people that were thrown away.
Courtney Ross was Floyd's other half.
He would say that he's a man of God. He would stand on that firmly.
He was a very loving person, and he didn't deserve what happened to him.
And just crystallize what the moment entailed. You have a police officer with his knee on the neck of this black man who is handcuffed. He has him on his knee on his neck for over 8 minutes. 2.5 of those minutes was after there was no response from George Floyd.
I give more credit to the onlookers who are trying to get these officers to stop. But instead, other officers sworn to protect and serve their community opted to do nothing. Senseless.
And had it not been for someone videotaping this, it would not have happened. If it had not been for Mr. Arbery being videotaped, it would not have happened. Even though it happened, none of us would have known about it.
I watched the video. It was hard, but I had to watch the video. And as I watched the video, those 4 officers, they executed my brother. People are torn and hurt because they're tired of seeing black men die constantly, over and over again. You know, I spoke to Eric Garner and Mom and Reverend Al Sharpton. And, you know, her son couldn't breathe. He kept saying he couldn't breathe. And my brother said the same thing. I'm tired of seeing black men die. Black lives matter too. I want it.
Well, to hear that young man cry out, I can't breathe, the same as my son did, it was so heart-wrenching. It brought back so many memories of what happened to me the day that my son was murdered. And I just can't say enough words to show them how much I stand with them, how I want to be with them in this moment of despair.
I just cried when I heard George Floyd yell out for his mother. I cried because I imagine, you know, me being his mother or my son being there and calling out for me, and I wasn't able to help him and he wasn't able to help himself. And so I think about those things. And so sometimes I'm able to express myself and sometimes I'm not. And so when I'm not, I just accept those times.
Picture yourself watching that video and imagine George Floyd being one of your family members. Would it be easy to stomach? Every second you watch that video, every second that elapsed, you know that that might be a possible chance for the officers to roll him over, get some air, and maybe, just maybe, he might live. Would you be able to watch that video the same way you're watching this video? If you can't, then we need to stand up and call out what's right and what's wrong.
Coronavirus has happened. The numbers have come out. You know, the story of Ahmaud Arbery in Georgia, that story has come out. All of these things are happening. And then the video of George Floyd comes out, and
it's a lot, man. You see yourself in all of the people that keep passing on, and those images never get out of your head. That's one of the reasons why I normally don't watch the videos, because after you've seen so many Philando Castiles and Terrence Crutchers and Freddie Grays and Eric Gardners and so many other people, every image stays embedded. It's like I see pieces of me every time one of these killings happen. It's like, you know, geez, this could have just been a bad run-in while I was going for a walk. It could have just been a random coincidence. What is it that made it be that person and not be me? And that's something that eats people alive. You know what I mean? That's not a good way to go to sleep at night.
I woke up and
My heart is heavy this morning. I don't think my heart been this heavy in a minute. Like, I got tears in my eyes. I woke up and rolled over, and of course my husband was at work. He's going to work. And all I could do was text him that I love him and for him to make it home today.
You know, this is fresh on my mind and on my heart, and I haven't had a lot of time to even process what's happened. I haven't had a lot of time to even understand my emotions around the death, the murder of George Floyd. He was made in the image of God. He's an image bearer. So he had infinite worth and value and didn't deserve to die.
I couldn't even, if you would have said, let's do a show yesterday, I would not have been able to do it because, I have not cried like that in so long.
And we just felt as a couple that is obviously interracial, and that race is a big part of it, that we felt we had to make a statement on our platform to just kind of share with what we're going through.
Yeah, we've known each other for 10 years, and even when we were friends, it was something that we've had to walk through. And what happened to George Floyd is truly heartbreaking.
It don't sit well with me. We had the coronavirus and being on quarantine, murder hornets, this stuff, riots, murder, all of that. And it's like, I really feel like I'm on the verge of losing it because every time you wake up it's something different. History definitely repeats itself. And I wish that it didn't.
So I came on here tonight and I want to pray for you because I know you're troubled and I'm troubled too, and I couldn't talk at first. And I admit this, I'm a little bit embarrassed to admit this. If I would have got on the first day, I think I would have just cried. I was just crushed. And then when I got through crying, I was just angry and I wasn't ready to talk. And sometimes it takes me a little while to find my best self, my strongest self, my wisest self. There was something about it that was so sad. I've never wept so hard for somebody I didn't even know. As a father and as a black man and as a Christian and as a pastor, I don't know which orifice I bleed the most from. All of them are bleeding in some way. My soul hemorrhages at the struggle for justice and the fight for empathy. Our country is in a pretty tough situation right now. Between the pandemic, the economy, and George Floyd, when we look back at it, and Ahmaud Arbery and so many other people in a short span of time have weighed heavy on my heart. Just in case there's somebody from the Floyd family that's on or somebody who knows him, please express my deepest, most profound condolences. I hate even saying those words because they sound so weak compared to what my heart really feels about it.
It's very heartbreaking. It's very disturbing to our peace. We're just doing the best that we can, making sure that we do the right thing, do what he would want us to do. Faith is something that me and my brother always talked about because he was a God-fearing man. But I believe that justice will be served. I have enough faith to stand on it.
There are so many problems facing our nation and our world that one could just take off anywhere. But today I would like to talk mainly about the race problem, since I'll have to rush right out and go to New York to talk about Vietnam tomorrow, and I've been talking about it a great deal.
Over 50 years ago, where my father was leading a demonstration in Memphis, Tennessee, and what he was leading was for sanitation workers to be treated like men. They had signs that said, "I am a man."
If Martin Luther King died in 1968 and it's 2020, and we're still fighting that same exact problem, what does that tell you? What does that tell you? That tells you we need to go to the root of the problem, or else we're going to continue to run into the same exact problem over and over and over and over again.
Like you say, this trauma, if you will, almost like PTSD, it just keeps opening this gaping wound.
It keeps happening. It's just in a different way. It's like how people are like, you should forgive so-and-so, but they keep doing it to me. I forgave them, but they keep doing it to me. It gets harder and harder to forgive them.
It's a love against anger. Love against not understanding. Love against difference. Because I don't understand how you can hate somebody because of the color of their skin, or fear me because I'm brown skinned. I think of my husband, who works hard every day for his family. And then I think of my 4 sons. It breaks my heart that a black man's life is less than a dog. Like, I just don't understand it. And let's be real, black men are the truth, honey, because I'm married to one and he is the truth. It's a sad situation, but I'm thankful I can talk to him every day and tell him I choose him, regardless how him being alive makes anybody feel. I'm thankful that that black man made it.
We're dealing with the fact that our skin is a certain tone, that people treat you differently. And it doesn't matter if you are walking your dog in Central Park and you're a Harvard graduate, or if you live in Boise, Idaho, and you are, whatever your background is.
What it feels like to be constantly told that you are worthless or nothing. Constantly be told that you will only be in jail. Told that you are ugly, that you are worthless, that you can't do anything. It's like, you cannot tell me how to feel. You cannot tell me what to say. You cannot tell me what to do. I can't stop being black, and I'm not going to. At the end of the day, if you don't like me being black, I feel like that's more of a you problem than a me problem. I'm proud to be black.
Black Lives Matter, and justice should actually be served in this matter. Every man is born free, regardless of tribe, regardless of race, regardless of color. Racism in form of racism, in form of tribalism, in form of discrimination in whatsoever manner has to stop.
I'm not going to sit here and do a discourse on race and racism or explain how race plays a part into this. That's on you to do your research on and to understand where and what that means. But it does.
People mean well. Some of the All Lives Matter people mean well because they really mean all lives. But the point right now is not all lives. All lives are not going through what black people or people of color are going through right now. So all lives matter is definitely a thing. I believe that as well. Everybody should be equal. But if Black Lives Matter and Black lives were and felt equal, we wouldn't have to say all lives matter, would we? We wouldn't have to say Black Lives Matter.
Ella Baker said, until the killing of black men, black mothers' sons become as important to the rest of the country as the killing of a white mother's son, we who believe in freedom cannot rest until this happens. She said that in 1964, and we're still echoing those same cries today.
Yes, there are a lot of folks who go every single day and try to
make this country live up to the principles that this country was founded on. And yet and still, here we are in 2020, during a pandemic, on Memorial Day, where you see this happening.
And one of the things that I think that more people need to do is just take a moment to listen and listen to those voices as they cry out, and to have a sense of understanding about the pain and trauma that it is to be Black in this country.
Everybody talks about grace, but nobody wants to talk about truth. And the Bible said that we beheld the wonder of his glory, the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. You don't have to have grace at the expense of truth. You can tell the truth and still have grace. And it's time to tell the truth. My heart bleeds because sometimes the truth is not always a pretty thing to tell. Sometimes the truth is a painful thing to tell. But the church has gotten to the point that we're so busy trying to get everybody to be polite that we don't allow them to be honest. And if they try to be honest, we say they're race baiting. And if they try to be honest, we have these names we call you. I know that many of you are angry, and you have a right to be angry. The Bible said, be angry and sin not. It's possible to be angry and not be destructive. I'm afraid that this will only lead to more deaths and more people in jail and the loss of properties, which means the loss of jobs. And some of those jobs are jobs that people desperately need right now.
Your anger is justified. You should be angry. You should be frustrated. You should be angry. You should be grieved. You should be hurt. It's what we do with that hurt. It's what we do with that pain that makes all the difference. There's a destructive way to use that emotion, and there's a constructive way to use that emotion.
Of course, I was very, 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 very upset that a human life was literally taken right before our very eyes as well, to the point where I understand why people would resort to that type of looting and that type of vandalism. I don't believe that's always the answer, but I understand the rage. Because when you watch the video and you hear the pleas of Mr. Floyd saying, hey, I can't breathe, and then you hear the people around saying, hey, he can't breathe. And sometimes it's like, if you can't hear George saying I can't breathe, and you can't hear the people saying this is a little bit too much, maybe you'll hear, the sound of me busting the window out of the car.
There are major concerns today that the huge crowds gathering to protest the death of George Floyd could spark a COVID-19 surge. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. We just want to encourage folks who gather to be mindful of the risks.
How many super spreaders were in that crowd? How many young people went home and kissed their mother hello or shook hands with their father?
But these demonstrators see an America infected with injustice, too.
Are you worried about your safety? Yes, but the answer is that I'm worried about my safety to both of those viruses.
They are fed up, and the next thing I heard that the police station had been burned down, and we do not want violence. And I say this 1,000 times, nobody's advocating for violence. Nobody's advocating for negativity. But when I'm having these conversations with these young people from our communities, and I'm saying, let's go about this, let's march, let's protest, they look at me dead in my eyes and say they tired of marching. That we've been marching for hundreds of years and they still killing us in these streets.
We're peacefully protesting. It was kind of scary because the police were throwing flash grenades off of the roof of the precinct. They were, shooting people with rubber bullets. It was like a war zone out there. I ended up getting tear gassed very badly. I got hit with a flash grenade in my arm, and the Minneapolis, the police department ended up giving me a 2nd-degree burn for peacefully protesting. That's the type of world we live in right now. It's scary, but I can no longer have fear anymore. We have to stand. We have to. That's the only thing we have left.
But as far as marching and protesting and getting out there on the corner and streets to congregate, yes, I feel this is the time. So what I see in Minneapolis, not all of it, but the spirit of it, I agree with.
What saddens me is that when people go into their own community and burn it up and tear it up because they aren't going to come and help you fix it. So I am outraged. I am hurt. I am tired. But prayerfully, we can find something that'll work and get some results.
It blows my mind that people are destroying a target and think that actually is standing for something, because it's not.
And yes, people's actions are not the approach that I would want us to take. Burning down our nation is not the right answer. But when you destroy a building, and that is so tragic and should not happen, yes, a building can be restructured, redone, rebuilt. Yeah. But how do you build it? How do you rebuild a human life when a life is gone? You can't.
That it is your duty not to burn your own house down for anger with an enemy. It is your duty to fortify your own house so that you may be a house of refuge in times of organization. And now is the time to plot, plan, strategize, organize, and mobilize.
I am a mother to 4 black children in America, one of whom is 18 years old. And when I saw the murder of George Floyd, I hurt like a mother would hurt. And on yesterday, when I heard there were rumors about violent protests in Atlanta, I did what a mother would do. I called my son and I said, "Where are you?" This won't change anything. We're no longer talking about the murder of an innocent man. We're talking about how you're burning police cars on the streets of Atlanta, Georgia. Go home.
It was leadership that resonated because it was tied to something more than just calling you a thug. See, when you call people out, you lose your audience. She was calling them up. You could feel the love underneath the anger. You could feel the love underneath the rage. She was saying, you are better than this. And you are part of something bigger than this. And you need to go home because you're out here destroying your own legacy. That's different than saying you're a bunch of thugs.
I appreciate the peaceful protesters. I really do. I think they are sick and tired, and we all are sick and tired. And what we witnessed on last Monday was just simply disgusting and inhumane. And so people just have to have a way of expressing themselves, and that's how they feel that they're expressing themselves. So you're going to have some people that's protesting peacefully, and you're going to have some rioters. And we just have to understand that whole concept. It depends on how angry you are and how severe this has hit you. I mean, we just got to stay focused on what's going on. We got to stay focused on that there was a loss of life.
Protesting comes when people have exhausted every means within their grasp to do, and then they take to the streets and protest. But I'm against the violence, and I'm against the looting. And I'm against it not only because I think it's morally wrong, but I think it's counterproductive to the conversation that the nation needs to be focused on is what happened to Ahmaud, what happened to George Floyd, what happened to so many people. The list goes on and on.
I'm here with Corey Moore, who is a protester here, who's been doing it peacefully. He is a football coach, he is a veteran, and each of those 3 things has shaped your perspective, Corey. What is it about this? What kind of conversations have you had here that has made you just feel tonight?
It was a little bit hectic at first, and then it kind of brought everybody in and made everybody sit down and get in their head and realize why we're here, why we are here. And people started calming down, and people started sharing their stories. Men shared their stories, women shared their stories, people from different cultural backgrounds, they all started sharing their stories.
If they would have locked those officers up and said, okay, they committed a crime, we would not be here. Why is the loss of life, the loss of black life, not as valuable as the loss of property in America?
To anyone who watched that video, don't ask yourself if it's right or wrong to loot, or don't ask yourself, wow, what does looting help? No. Ask yourself that question. Ask yourself why it got you that much more watching these people loot.
The problem is not that you're pointing out looting. The problem was that you didn't point out anything about the initial action at all, but then you felt a motivational rise in your heart to get you to post or do whatever you did to bring light to looting versus the initial problem.
That if the riots or the looting or that is is making you more angry than the injustice that's happening to the Black Americans, I think you should really kind of process that and think about that. If we're going to get more angry about somebody stealing or destroying property, which is just you can build tomorrow, versus somebody's life,
Can't replace.
Yeah, pray about and maybe have a little reality check about that.
Yeah. Or maybe it would help you if you think about that unease that you felt watching that target being looted. Try to imagine how it must feel for Black Americans when they watch themselves being looted every single day. Because that's fundamentally what's happening in America.
I got a new car the other day, and conversations I'm having with my dad about, I'd rather not tint the windows because in racial profile, you can be pulled over, situations could get escalated. These are conversations we're having as young Black people all the time. But when a cop pulls me over, my hands are on the steering wheel knowing that I cannot move them.
Why would a police officer assume that you did something bad? Maybe because of my skin color.
I'm unarmed and I have nothing that will hurt you.
It's just kind of a thing we practice at our house.
You could do what I do, and I show them my hands, so when they're walking up, they see I don't have anything in my hands.
Police officer says something to you, don't, you're Black. You can't be looking at them saying, oh, I don't know, why don't you tell me? Well, that right there is giving them the license to pull you out of your car and physically harm you, because it will be done.
I'm Errol Sky Williams, and I have nothing that will harm you or hurt you.
And what's the next place you put your hands when you're driving or on the steering wheel with your hands out?
We, as Black men, we've seen a lot of stuff as far as murders and people being taken from us, right? True. But now, not only it's been seen by us and our brothers, but it's been seen by our children now. So I'm sitting there watching this, and my daughter tells me, Dad, I can't leave you. Because I seen what happened to your friend. And I think you need me. My daughter's 6 years old.
Oh my God.
For my daughter to see that and tell me that I need her at 6, imagine what the pain and the frustration is in my mind right now.
I remember being put in handcuffs for something that had nothing to do with me. I was literally walking in the mall. Cops slammed me on the ground, busted my lip, chipped my tooth. That actually made me really mad.
How about the time they pulled us over with me in the car and arrested me and left all of you guys sitting in the car and nobody knew how to drive on the side of the road?
I was about your age, actually. They grabbed me.
Why?
I didn't know at the time. They just grabbed me. They threw me onto the police car.
I got tased that time. That time they tased me because they said I wasn't complying.
Ariel, are you okay?
What's wrong, baby? I'm okay. I'm alive, all right? Every day I get to see you. I get to do this, right? All right, come on. Let's calm down. Let's finish this, all right? You good? Hey, you making me cry.
God protect me. I just want to live.
I mean, I try to keep hope. I try to keep faith. I keep telling my children they can be free.
What our communities have known for generations, which is the discriminatory implementation and enforcement of the laws and the need, therefore, to reform these systems and also hold accountable those who abuse these systems and who engage in the kind of conduct that caused that man to die needlessly.
I mean, the whole criminal system is not just. And until we get a system, it works if you have money, perhaps. But if you do not have money, and there are many people who do not, the criminal system does not work.
We need to get ahead of it. That's my recommendation to my mayor and my chief. Let's get a review board. Let's get ahead of it. And let's give them power. We don't need an officer that makes a mistake once, twice, 3 times, and finally he kills a boy on national TV, and the next thing you know, the country is burning down. And it is the responsibility of us to make this better right now. We don't want to see 1 officer charged. We want to see 4 officers prosecuted and sentenced.
Fundamentally, when you boil it down, society is a contract. It's a contract that we sign as human beings amongst each other. When you watch Ahmaud Arbery being shot and you hear that those men have been released, and were it not for the video and the outrage, those people would be living their lives, what part of the contract is that in society?
A man sit on a man's neck, you know, with no regard for his life, to look you in the face in a camera, knowing that he's sitting on this, and the man is telling you that he can't breathe. He's calling for his mother. When those things are happening, and they can tell you that they don't see a crime, that right there is one of the biggest miscarriages of justice ever. And that is by the system and the structure that is supposed to protect and serve.
These are our authoritative figures that you have placed over us to protect and to serve. If we cannot trust who protects and serves us, who can we trust?
My cousin is an Atlanta City police officer, and my other cousin, East Point police officer. And I got a lot of love and respect for police officers.
Being a cop, my police officers out there, I have one of my best friends is a police officer. And I'm so happy he's a police officer. I'm really happy because they need more people like him in there. Accountability is being a police officer and seeing something like that happening and stopping and stepping in because you have the power to do so.
It builds up a lot of rage because I know what type of police officer I am, and I know what kind of police department we have here in Houston. And then you see videos of those instances and those incidents, and it just breaks your heart. Where were the diversity in that police department? Where was the command staff that would check that kind of force? Because this guy had a record of using excessive force, and we know that's a fatal that enters people into that fatal funnel where when you impede someone's breath, they can't breathe, so they're gonna die. So there's no training that teaches us to impede somebody's breathing and put our knees in their neck.
My fundamental duty is to serve mankind, to safeguard lives and property, to protect the innocent against deception, the weak against oppression or intimidation, and the peaceful against violence or disorder, and to respect the constitutional rights of all men to liberty, equality, and justice, develop self-restraint, and be constantly mindful of the welfare of others. I recognize the badge in my office as a symbol of public faith, and I accept it as a public trust to be held so long as I am true to the ethics of police service. What I just read to you guys was a law enforcement code of ethics.
If you could say anything to police, what would you say?
Learn about people, learn about their problems.
Take some diversity training. I mean, it should be like at this point, like a monthly requirement.
It's get rid of the fraternity that you guys have. You don't need to be a fraternity. You need to be heroes. You should be mentoring and protecting, and that's what I do as a coach. I talk to the kids, keep them motivated, keep them inspired. I make I make myself someone that they can come to, someone that they can trust. And that's what we need. We need for the police to step up and change their mentality, because people are always saying that, you know, we need to change the police officers' training. We need to get fired, all that. You just need to step up. You work with each other. You know who the bad people are. Get in their heart. Let them know what they're doing is wrong. And start changing. If your coworker has hate in his heart, hit him in his heart. He will change.
But this is a real issue in our society. There's an issue of injustice. There's an issue of racism. There's an issue of power. And it showed its ugly face in this circumstance. And if you're not at all bothered by this, you should be. And I would ask you, you should probably pray that God would change your heart, that you would have empathy for those who are suffering at the hands of injustice and losing their lives.
Are you a member of the fallback crew? The fallback crew. Who is the fallback crew? That's those people that when it is a crisis, they fall back. You don't see them. They don't post nothing. People in the fallback crew are part of the problem.
There are people that are silent because, one, they really, really, really are conditioned and used to stuff like this happening. And they go the other way. They want to forget about it. Those people that want to just forget about it and not see it and unsee it, and just, then you have the silent people that have jobs where they know that they work for people that do not, that are either racist, devalue Black lives, or will judge them based on their judgment in some type of way. They have jobs and they feel as though that would affect their pockets, their ranking, their type of respect within their workplace. You have people around you in your close circle that are racist, but because you necessarily don't feel that way or may not even be racist, but you see them do racist things and you don't say anything about it, you're another part of the silent problem.
And so I went to an all-Black college and a mostly all-white seminary and built close relationships with them all. You know, but as a majority whole, even from some of the most godliest men that I know of the Caucasian race, you know, even from the institution in where I got my education, you know, and I've learned so many great things and truths in the scripture, they have been silent on injustice. Now, they have been very loud about politics.
Sometimes we will ourselves into blindness rather than to be empathetic and get involved. That police officer they just arrested, he's not really the only one on trial. America is on trial today. Will we look away? Jesus tells a story about a certain man went down from Jerusalem to Jericho and fell amongst thieves, robbers. They stripped him and they wounded him and they left him half dead. And as Jesus goes on to tell the story, he says that the priest came and saw this brother on the side of the road bleeding, and he looked at him and he walked away. After a while, the Levite came and he passed by and he saw him too, but out of willful blindness, he turned his head and walked away. And I thought, we always preach about the Good Samaritan, but we never preach about the priest and the Levite. And when things get ugly, they look away. It reminds me of what Dr. King said. It is not, and I'm paraphrasing, but it is not so much the hideous behavior of evil men that condemns us so, but it is, in fact, the silence of good men who just look away. If we're going to fix this, Republicans and Democrats are going to have to talk to each other, and Black folks and white folks are going to have to join hands together, and young folks and old folks are going to have to get together. If we're going to fix this country, if we're really going to fix anything, We're not going to fix anything by becoming more tribal and more animalistic and everybody going to their corner and the other group going blind and saying, as long as it's not my child, it doesn't matter. We don't need more Levites and priests. We need more Good Samaritans.
This has got to stop. Racism, tribalism, everything that doesn't equate equality when it comes to race, gender, or anything has got to stop.
It definitely warms my heart to see that we have so many people willing to support and to protest and to give him a voice and keep this going, because he was a very loving person.
Anyone who believes in humanity, we are asking for you to stand up. This is not just a black people issue. This is a human rights issue, and we are pleading with you. Young people, we are standing with you. We want you to know that there's multiple ways to get your point across, and we are here to help you. You have a village that will help you strategize.
What I really want to say to the country, what I really want to say to people who are not black, you have got to join this call to actions. This is a hate crime. This is a violation of someone's civil rights, and it's murder on tape.
Some people can fight behind the scenes also, and it's always been that way. Like, not everybody marched on Washington. Not everybody could go to Washington. So people are needed in every area.
If we see these incidents, we see a variety of people who are joined. It's not just black people. It's black and white. It's old and young. And so the
If you want change in America, go and register to vote. Show up at the polls on June 9th. Do it in November.
Really plot, plan, strategize, and organize and mobilize in an effective way. And two of the most effective ways is first taking your butt to the computer and making sure you fill out your census so that people know who you are and where you are. The next thing is making sure you exercise your political bully power and going to local elections and beating up the politicians that you don't like. Well, we use this as a moment to say that we will not do what other cities have done, and in fact, we will get better than we've been.
And if you are not doing that, if you're not trying to make it better, if you're blaming, the looting, or you're blaming the rioting, whatever you want to call it, and saying, oh, you guys deserve this because you're doing this, you're doing that, do better. If you're blaming all white people because that white police officer did that to that black man, and you're a black person and you're angry at all white people because you think all white people do the exact same thing, do better. Do better. There are still good people out here, and us good people need to stick together.
There's a lot of things you can do. You could fill out the census for one thing. You could vote. You'll never change the world by tweets alone. You need to vote. You need to vote not just on a presidential level, for district attorneys, because this is state level. Municipal government. Sometimes we don't even vote in those elections, but we live with the consequences and the decisions of those people who are judges and district attorneys. It's a wake-up call to get involved. Anger without effectiveness just leads to destruction. I want to challenge you to do something that's effective. Pray the day will come that we will cross over to the bleeding victims who lay on the side of the road and pour in the oil and the wine. And in order to get to our better selves, we've got to calm those that are enraged, and we've got to stir up those that are quiet. Because the angry are too angry, and the quiet are much too quiet. And I know we're upset. But real change comes in process and comes in time. And I think we're at a turning point right now. Which way that turn goes is up to you and I. This is not a black and white issue. It's a right and wrong issue. It's a red, white, and blue issue. We're too divided. I pray that we be one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can I pray for you tonight?
Accountability. Holding yourself accountable. That doesn't mean just posting on Facebook. That's part of it. And you see racism happening around you. You check it and you make sure that you cut it right there. It shouldn't go any further if you want to be a part of the solution, at least. I am very thankful for those who are expressing themselves and are expressing how it affects them and bringing awareness.
One ray of sunshine for me in that moment was seeing how many people instantly condemned what they saw.
It starts here, and then it starts in your home and having those conversations, and then we can also make it an impact in the grand, in our systems and politics and in our schools and our churches.
Also, I wanted to thank you for your persistence in this and just not giving up on me, because there's been times where like opinions I've had in the past, or even things I say now, I'm not perfect. Betty and I are two different people. We're not going to agree on everything all the time. Mm-hmm. So even now, when there might be blind spots or things that I'm wrong about, thank you for leaning in and not giving up on me. So yeah, I say thank you. And I also want to say sorry for those times as well. And yeah, I just want to apologize.
I'm using this time to, raise my daughter right, let her know about differences, being proud about her Black roots, it all starts in the house. And that's what I'm saying, racism is taught. You're not born racist. That behavior is taught. The whole world needs prayer at the moment. And we will get through this. You go make sure that the message gets there. That's on period. I hope everybody is staying safe during these uncertain times. Please, if you are doing protests and rioting, please stay safe. You guys have my prayer. I just am lost for words,
All we can do right now is literally pray for one another and try to stick together. I don't know, I feel like today, call your daddy. Call your sons, hug them, kiss them, love on them. Tell them the truth. Tell them to be careful in this crazy world. I'm thankful I can talk to him every day and tell him I choose him, regardless how him being alive makes anybody feel. I'm thankful that Black man made it. All right, everybody. I'm sorry that y'all had to see me cry this morning, but my heart was heavy. So y'all have a good day. I'm about to get out of bed, brush my teeth because I sound like a man.